Hello everyone, this is Annie Botticelli and welcome to my special focus on this wonderful aspect, Jupiter in Pisces, Sextile Pluto in Capricorn, this amazing degree of opportunity, 60 degrees, that we'll be feeling really strongly for a few months, April, May into June. That will feel the most strong when the aspect is the closest, which will be around May 1st through 5th. Just to give a little perspective as to the length of time that goes on between us having this type of transit. So Jupiter making the 60-degree angle to Pluto happens not super frequently, but as you can see, the last time we had it happen 3 times in 2018. Now we're having it happen once in 2022. And then it will happen again in 2030. So it's a more common transit to have Jupiter connect in a 60-degree angle with Pluto. But when we drill down into the details of Jupiter in the sign of Pisces and, Pluto in the sign of Capricorn, that's a little bit less frequently. Okay, so the last time we had this happen was early of 2010, but prior to that, the last time we had it happen was hundreds of years ago in the 1700s. So you can see that while the planets coming together in any different sign is not as rare, this particular configuration of the Pisces Capricorn with these planets involved is actually pretty rare. So let's look at the chart for a second to see exactly what we're talking about here. So here's Pluto, 28 degrees. Pluto's been hanging out close to that degree. Remember, these planets are outer planets. They're further away from us. So when they're in a certain position, they're there for a while, and the further out a planet is, the slower it moves. So Pluto's been hanging out around the same couple of degrees, it takes years. But Jupiter moves through a sign in about a year. So when it gets to 28 degrees, as it will in early May, it makes a 60-degree angle, which is the angle of sweet opportunities. Now, it is important to note that the 60-degree angle can bring nice things without you doing anything, just little gifts and blessings, which we'll get into the details of what types of gifts and blessings. But it does bring just some general things that you can benefit from. But the real key and the magic of a 60-degree angle is that you have to take action for the best and the longest term outcomes. So it's the kind of thing where lots of opportunities can come up and you get excited because options start popping up or you start feeling something. But if you don't activate it or lock it in or bring it into a habit or, do something with it, then it's more likely to be shorter lasting. And there are chances to have missed opportunities if you don't do something with the ingredients on the counter to form it into a yummy dish. So I always think about everything as equations. I have a mathematical mind, and of course, in astrology, we have a lot of math as well. But I'm going to present this in a way to help you understand all of the ways that there can be countless manifestations. I'm an astrology teacher, and besides just telling you the things that I think could potentially come, I get even more joy out of telling you the ingredients so that you can blend them together and start to have more understanding in your own life, in the world, because these effects of these transits will be felt in the world down to the individual. Now, a very big question would be, why do some people feel more certain general transits that are available to everyone in stronger ways than other people? And for that, I actually intend to make a separate video. So be on the lookout for that. If you're a subscriber, you'll see it come through. But for right now, we're going to break it down into pieces and just know that any adding together of any of these components can be the positive outcome here. Now, You've seen me do this before. This is part of my methodology. But you'll notice that I'm only really listing some positive aspects of each of the signs or the planets and the signs that rule them, or that they rule. Because when we're looking at a more neutral aspect like a conjunction or a challenging aspect, we have to factor in some of the, really more strongly factor in the negative traits as potentials of those planets and signs. But when we're looking at a sweet aspect, the odds are greatly increased that the combinations will be the softer sides of the planets, the more positive sides. Now, while it's true that sometimes something great comes from something terrible, and could we see one of the negative aspects of these, planets or signs that are represented here combining to do something challenging, and then some of these other good things come after? Absolutely. But it does lend itself to a blending of the sweet possibilities. So if you take anything involving Jupiter / Sagittarius, which is the sign it rules, expansion, amplification, an increase, additive nature. So like not having to pick between things, saying I'm having this and also this. Benevolence, luck, hope, inspiration. And also this, I didn't list these here, but this also has to do with education, long distance travel, any opportunities involving learning languages or immigration or international business connections. Anything that Sagittarius rules can be in here. Okay, teaching, learning, anything like that. Then we combine that with Pisces and Neptune positive aspects, art, yoga, psychology, inner realms, spirituality, connectedness, the lesser seen realms, private personal space and pursuits. After we go through some of these lists here, I'm going to give you some examples of how we can see these weave together. But I just want to get all the ingredients out here for us to play with. You can kind of think of them as art modalities or art tools like paint and glitter and, pencils and whatever we've got here to create. We're just getting them all out on the table here, okay? So Pluto and Scorpio, which is the sign that it rules, has the energy of regeneration and renewal and the phoenix rising, blasting through obstacles, empowerment, collaboration, resources, and miracles. And Capricorn, we hear a lot about the negative aspects of Capricorn because it's ruled by Saturn, and Saturn can bust chops, as I always like to affectionately say. But there are so many positive aspects of Saturn and Capricorn, and so here we can list some systems, just the infrastructure that is, at the center of all of our everything, our experience, foundations, leadership, stability, security, longevity, consistency, learning from past lessons, both our own and lessons that other people learned from. There's something really cool about Capricorn energy in that we can learn the lessons from the past. It's a more positive of the potentials that if we see, hey, someone did that and it resulted in this, maybe we should try something else. We can actually avoid a problem because of mistakes someone else made and not have to make the mistake ourselves. And strategy. So sort of, planning and putting things together. Okay, so now let's talk about some ways, actually we'll just stay here, that these can intermingle. Okay, so something cool that I read recently is that there are some people that are planning on doing a mapping of the world's fungi connections. So if you didn't know this already, a fungus or fungi they're connected underneath the surface. So here, an example of things under the surface, right? And so the fungus networks have their things above the ground, but they have more below the ground where they're interconnected, possibly in a global network. So here in 2022, Jupiter, the expander, they're going to map these underground networks and try to see what type of information is transmitted. It's like a circulatory system for the surface of the earth connected to under the surface of the earth. So that's really cool, but you can see that that's an example of the type of energy, because even though we're feeling this the most strongly in April and May and June, this aspect is part of a series of aspects with Jupiter, as we've seen, occurring. Jupiter and Neptune, we've had Jupiter and Uranus, we've had, and there will be more. So it's a cog in the wheel of an activation sequence. So that's a really nice way to relate these possibilities. I also believe we're going to continue seeing art and yoga and psychology and spirituality as more of and mental wellness. So the topic of mental wellness, mental dis-ease, and mental wellness, and prioritizing that in our work structures, in our lives. So an expansion where we could have some continued headway in those types of things. We can also see benevolence, luck, hope, inspiration in the systems. I mean, obviously, if we look around at our systems, we say, wow, they're really in need of repair, right? And they have been in repair since Pluto's been in Capricorn, 2008 through 2024. It's been a blowing up of the old systems, and we've got a little more to go. But I do believe that here we are at, 28 degrees, which after 29 degrees, it will be on to Aquarius, that the old representations of the Plutonian, and one could even say patriarchal, although I use that word loosely, as, gender roles and definitions are definitely ever changing, but the old reference of the patriarchal systems are very much embodied by Capricorn. But we have to remember that as much as there have been very negative attributes of that system, there are actually positive attributes of that system. And so this series of combinations can find, restore, keep, expand the positive aspects of what has been built leading up to this time, as we shed the rest that is no longer serving. Or when I say no longer serving, obviously doesn't seem in some ways like it was serving many people, but I can assume from the spiritual perspective that as long as something's happening, it is actually serving us. And whether that serving is a catalyst to help us become empowered or what, there's still some sort of service there as long as it's present, and we can take advantage of it, and we are. Okay, so that's another example. You could kind of call the combination of some of these energies like a Renaissance type of energy, where there's, a resurgence or regeneration or renewal in the arts and music, and hopefully within the system. As education systems are rapidly changing, many people being home, the issue of there not being arts in school, sometimes now people are taking that in their own hands and getting music and art back for their families, for people who are homeschooling, and for those who are not in a position to be able to have their kids home because they have to go to work. I believe that more and more opportunities will continue to develop for children and adults, people of any age, to access the arts and education and transformation and mental, health resources, that there are going to be more and more free services. And my work is actually a part of that. If you're familiar with my work, I've been doing astrology and coaching and mentoring and writing books and blogs and research and all of these things for 20 years. And most of the work that I do, most of the time that I spend working, is actually doing free things like this offering. So there is going to be a continued expansion of access to free education, free arts, free learning, free inspiration, and that will be accessible more and more to more and more people. So there could be some nice headway here. It's also important to recognize that sometimes the manifestations of something that happens in this time frame are felt later. Like we can see that in a negative way with the tensions with Russia and Ukraine. by the time there was actually something very overt occurring, there had been a sequence of events that had been activated from challenging astrological transits way before the actual time. So, you can see these transits as cogs in a wheel of action. And that goes for the negative transits, that goes for the positive transits, that goes for the neutral transits. That just because you don't see something occur that's super positive during the most influential time of a transit doesn't mean that things aren't happening on a quieter level in this quiet personal space, especially when there's Pisces or Neptune involved. And it could also mean that seeds are planted. Jupiter is notorious for seed planting. And so Jupiter has a 12-year cycle. There are many different cycles at play with these different planetary occurrences. But seeds that are planted now could be coming up anytime during this cycle. So you don't have to feel cheated if this time passes and you say, hey, nothing happened. It could have been an inner spark. It could have been something on a subtle level that takes a little while to come out into your consciousness. Or that takes it takes the form of an idea that might take some time to activate or manifest into physical form. But the more you look for opportunities that are 60-degree in nature here, and this is another big thing to know, the more you look for the combination and understand the way these things can manifest, the more you will find them. And the more you see them, the more of a chance that you'll take action on them, because they could be happening right under your nose and you're not paying attention, and so you might think there's nothing happening for you. Okay, you might have to take action on inner work because the inner work will crack down or crack out a paradigm that you needed in order to be able to hear something. So like sometimes, there's something in particular, I'm thinking of somebody that I told someone close to me where I was like, this is really important, and they weren't really ready for that. But then years later, they read it in a book by a popular psychologist who is helping a lot of people right in the current time. And when they told me about it, I was like, oh yeah, yes, that's what I've been telling you. And they weren't in a position to hear it, or the way that it was said through me, it didn't click. But that's the kind of thing where this energy can happen now, where something that you do can either make you ready for things that you've already been exposed to, or you could be getting exposed to things now that you're not quite ready for yet, but they filter into your being and then they can manifest at some later point. So definitely, if you are researchers and you like to, that's why I give you the dates, you can look at these periods of time in history and try to see. Now, when I say I didn't drill down here into the exact times, it was within this 16-year cycle that it happened. I was just kind of referring back, but it's kind of fun to go back and say, oh, well, these are ways that this energy manifested in those times, either in history or in your own life for the more recent ones, because I believe we learn the most in astrology by our own observations. And then if you have, keep this list handy, and if you have ways that you're seeing any of the energies that I've listed here or any other, of the Jupiter, Pisces, Pluto, Capricorn energies, combining in these ways that you've seen manifest in the world or your life during this period of time, please post them, because it's always fun for us to see how these equations can work, and it helps everybody to understand these connections more. So I hope this aspect brings amazing things for you. Make sure you watch my monthly horoscopes. They're always up early to have details for your sign about what's up, and also check out my YouTube channel and my other resources, which you can see in the notes underneath this video or podcast, depending on how you're listening, to see what else is going on in ways that I can assist. Okay, so I've given you lots to work with to help you make the most of the energies this month and to help you understand the energetic patterns at work and play. And if you'd like more resources, I've got all of these here. You can additionally go to the little more button, the little arrow underneath the bottom right of the video, click on that, and all of the links that I'm giving you here will be clickable, right? So if you're looking for reading options, including a beautiful, very detailed 45-minute audio of your birth chart for $33 from my brilliant husband, you can find that at anniebclarity.com. You can go to anniehelpsyou.com, sign up for my free email newsletter. This is where you can access running a free birth chart. This is where you access my 28-day in-depth virtual coaching program called Shine for free. This is also where you'll find tons of blogs, and you get lots of other perks for being on my newsletter list. If you're looking for written horoscopes by me, always up a month early, you can go to cozybysweetstarlight.com. If you haven't seen this site, go to it. It is so beautiful. We've got, me and my team have lots of amazing astrology-inspired blogs and healthy living blogs. We've got hypnosis for all the signs. We've got healing frequencies for all the signs. I've got the written horoscopes that I write. We have yoga for all the signs. So it's just a very beautiful, comprehensive site. If you're looking for free courses on how to manifest money and wellness, you can go to lumlife.com, my school, Luminous Life Multiversity, LUMLIFE. You can also find my astrology education courses here, including my behemoth of a master course called Becoming a Professional Astrologer Mastery Course, which you can fully utilize even if you don't want to be a professional astrologer, but it certainly will get you up to the level where you could be and show you how to make your business a success. And payment plans are available there too. Now, I've also got 2 books out and more on the way. Planetology, How to Align with the Natural Rhythms of the Universe. You will find this on the bookshelves in all major booksellers, including all the Books A Million, all the Barnes & Nobles. It's right there on the shelf. Plus, you can get it on Amazon and through any independent bookseller. And you can find Radical Prayer on Amazon, and you can order it anywhere as well. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.